On today's video, week 2 of OTAs have kicked off for the Chiefs, and we're going to talk about a few players that done well last week, but need to continue that going forward. There was also recent news about the Falcons shopping Kyle Pitts. We're going to talk about that in Kansas City yet again. And finally, we got some post-June 1st cut and trade options from around the NFL. We're going to see if any of those could land on the Chiefs. Welcome back to All Chiefed Up. We're back with another podcast for that ass.
Before we get the show started, just want to say thank you for clicking, and also hit the like button if you enjoy the content, and subscribe if you haven't already. 92% of you haven't. Help your boys out.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
Let's kick it off today and talk a little bit about our salary cap going into the second week of OTA, Steve. The Chiefs are showing right now on overthecap.com $10.7 million in cap space. We have everybody just about signed right now except for Omar Norman-Lott, our second round pick. So we're in pretty good shape here. And so that puts us into this first story we're going to talk about, where it looks like the Falcons have said Kyle Pitts is on the trade block. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler has reported some NFL teams think both the Falcons and Kyle Pitts may be open to a possible trade. On Friday, Jordan Schultz reported that the Falcons prefer to keep Kyle Pitts, and it would take at least a second or third round pick for Atlanta to seriously consider trading their young tight end talent. Fowler goes on to say, I don't think it's a situation where the Falcons are aggressively shopping Kyle Pitts. He said this on SportsCenter on Saturday. He said, it appears, talking to some other teams, they think Atlanta is at least open to the idea, and Pitts might be as well. I'm told he loves Atlanta. This is not a situation where he's requesting the trade, but if he has a chance to go somewhere else to maybe a better offense where he's featured more, he's open to the option. Steve, this has been talked about time and time again. Kyle Pitts to the Chiefs. Could this be the time the move happens?
I don't even like it anymore, to be quite honest about it. I feel like we've talked about
Kyle
Pitts coming to the Chiefs so much. And here's the thing about it. It seems sexy. It seems great because he was like a top 5 draft pick. Everyone thought he was going to be the greatest thing ever. But to be quite honest about it, he looks decent when he's on the field and healthy, but this dude's always freaking hurt. Let's just get that right. I don't even think he's in OTAs for Atlanta right now because he's hurt with something. And that's just how it kind of goes with Kyle Pitts. To be honest about it, I don't even think the Chiefs are interested in Kyle Pitts anymore. They drafted Jared Wiley. They signed the UDFA Jake Brenningstool. And of course you got Noah Gray in behind Travis Kelce. I don't think they see it as a big need. And also, I actually DM'd Jordan Schultz when I saw that story. And I was like, hey, have you heard anything about the Chiefs being interested? Because he said there were a few teams that were interested in Kyle Pitts. He got nothing on that. So I don't think the Chiefs care.
Yeah, you're right. Kyle Pitts is actually out right now. He's dealing with an undisclosed injury, the Falcons head coach Raheem Morris said. He went on to say this: Pitts was not in attendance last week for week 1 of OTAs, and it says we're being extremely cautious with Kyle right now and what he's got going on. Obviously, don't talk about injuries this time of year, but definitely being cautious with him so you won't see him. Steve, he's injured. Back to your point, he's injured. He's always injured. I think like he would be a decent addition, but for a second or third round pick, I don't even think I'm down with that at this point. I think for Kyle Pitts, I'd be most willing to give up maybe a 5th or a 6th rounder. I don't think they're even going to start to trade him at that, but they've got to get a deal worked with him. He's in the last year of a contract with the Falcons. Their offense, they went to Penix. They've still got Kirk Cousins on the roster. They've got to figure out what to do with him. They're in a little bit of a mess with their offensive side of the ball. I do think they're heading in the right direction. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is going to be part of that going forward. We'll have to see. But if I'm Brett Veach, I may kick the tires on it for just a slight second and see if I could weasel out some kind of miracle. But honestly, I'm with you. I think you look at Brenningstool, you look at Jared Wiley, and you look at Noah Gray going in long term, and Kelce's not 100% going to be retired after this year. I know a lot of people think that that's coming, but we're not so sure.
Kyle Pitts like the Kadarius Toney of tight ends, man. You get real horned up about what you think could be, but it's never gonna be because he's always hurt. And it kind of makes me wonder if the guy even wants to play football with all of his undisclosed injuries all the time. He just never hardly sees the field. But let's move it on. The Lions took a loss today, Mike, with the retirement of Frank Ragnow, their center. What do you think about that? He's only 29?
Yeah, 29 years old. I thought that was a little wild. He did come out and say that his body didn't feel well. He just had to face the music. It was time for him to step down. A lot of people said he was the best center in football after Jason Kelce retired. Nay, I think that's crazy, Steve. If you haven't went back and watched the short that we released last night, go back and do that. I compared Creed Humphrey to Frank Ragnow. It's not even close. To give you some highlights of that, Humphrey's pass protection is far superior. He only allowed 7 pressures in 2024. Ragnow was dealing with a lot of injuries, but he allowed 21 pressures in comparison to the 7. And the 2.7% pressure rate from Creed Humphrey since 2022 is the lowest among centers. So it's safe to say that after Jason Kelce retired, and honestly, even Kelce's last year, I don't think it was that far of a gap. Creed Humphrey is now the undisputed, unanimous champion at center in the NFL, Steve.
He's the people's champion anyway. Let's get that straight. But what about the Lions, man? It's a little bit of a hit for them. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this earlier today, Mike. If you think about the Lions, they had Matt Stafford on their team for 11 seasons, and they could not build a team around him. They traded him for Jared Goff. He goes on to win a Super Bowl with the Rams, right? Now, if you look at the Lions, they've built up a team, but they don't have a quarterback that can get over the hump. They're missing a Matt Stafford to go with the rest of their team. I just thought that was kind of funny, and just kind of shows you how things work out for the Lions.
Yeah, the poor Lions. We'll get to see them this season. Hopefully we get that dub because their fans are pretty obnoxious. Steve, let's move it along to the story everybody wants. Chiefs OTAs week 2 have started back up on Monday. It's going to go to Wednesday. We're probably not going to get any look into practice or anything like that, any interviews until Wednesday afternoon, just like we did last week on the final day. But we know that there were some good performances last week from some players that kind of stepped out of the shadows and into the limelight. Tyquan Thornton was one, and then rookie Jalen Royals was another. Steve, what do these two have to do to stay on the radar here going forward? Because they got to start stacking this if they want to try to make the team. I know Royals is probably in a very good shape to make the team, but Tyquan Thornton, players like that, they're fighting for a roster spot.
I think this is a big thing for Tyquan Thornton. Not so much Jalen Royals. I kind of feel like Jalen Royals is going to be on the roster regardless, right?
Yes.
He'd have to do something really slap nutty during OTAs and camp to not make this roster, because I think he has that much potential and he fits that well into the Chiefs offense. But let's talk about Tyquan Thornton, though. This is a guy that no one really had on the radar. They didn't even think about him being part of the 53-man roster, but he very well could be. You start hearing things from him. Now, granted, they were asked about Tyquan Thornton in particular, but Patrick Mahomes had good things to say about him, and so did Xavier Worthy. This guy has 4.2 speed. He's pretty tall. I think he's over 6 feet. He could do a lot of things for the Chiefs in the vein of like an MVS type role, except for he could be better than MVS. He's got a ceiling that's pretty high. He just didn't get to show himself over there in New England because they had trash quarterbacks and their team just kind of stunk. But maybe this is a guy that can learn the playbook quick and do all the little things right in OTAs to get in the good graces of the coaches. And then if he can go out and perform in camp, then hell, he might make the roster, especially if they were to go with 7 receivers.
Right. A lot of people think Sky Moore, this is the time he's going to be off the team. I keep telling people, don't hold your breath there. It's a little shaky. He's like Lord Voldemort. You say his name, he'll appear on the 53-man roster. But Steve, there were some other guys as well. I'm with you. Tyquan Thornton has to prove that he can come out, keep digging into the playbook. Him and Jalen Royals, they both have to keep getting in there, putting in good reps, showing that they got good hands, showing that they're learning the playbook and developing chemistry with Patrick Mahomes. That's a big thing. But another guy that needs to show that he can keep building on his week 1 OTA performance is Kingsley Suamataia. I think that's big at left guard. We heard Andy Reid come out last week and say he was doing good things. He was looking good. He looked comfortable in the position. I think he has to come out, and I think Jalen Moore has got to take some advantage of all the reps he's getting right now, with Josh Simmons still not ready to be back in there just yet. But we heard Andy, Josh Simmons is breathing down his neck, and he's going to be back in there very soon. You work hard, you play hard, and we know Chiefs Kingdom cheers hard. And when you do that, it's obvious you work up a little stank. You don't have to walk around smelling like Bigfoot's Grab yourself some Mando full body deodorant or some Mando whole body deodorant spray. They even have whole body deodorant cream. You have no reason to stink. We absolutely love Mando, and that's why we partnered with them to bring their goodness to you. There's 4 scents. This bourbon leather here is fantastic. They also have Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport scent. So do you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula? Of course you do. You can find them at Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. But for the best deals, go to shopmando.com. You can pick up a Mando starter pack. It's absolutely perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and you get free shipping. Free shipping is huge. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence head to toe with Mando.
Right. I think OTAs just kind of sets the tone for all the fringe players, right? The guys that are at the back end of maybe making the 53-man roster. And then, of course, the rookies as well. They want to get a good footing. They want to learn things quick, and they want to be in the good graces of the coaches. And I think getting a good basis for what you're going to be doing going forward in camp, you can do it right here in OTAs. And I think a lot of those guys are going to get off to a good start.
So June 1st is come and gone, Steve, and this means post-June 1st cut options and trade options. We already seen Bryce Huff get traded to San Francisco from the Eagles. He was expected to be on that list of possible cuts or trades, and that panned out. Steve, NFLTradeRumors.co has released a list. I wanted to run down this list, and you tell me if there's anybody on this list that you would be interested in. They say that some post-trade or cut options is Dolphins cornerback Jalen Ramsey, Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, Bengals defensive end Trey Hendrickson, Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins, Browns tight end David Njoku, and cornerback Jair Alexander from the Packers. Steve, out of all those names I just listed, is there anybody there that tickles your fancy a little bit that you can see wearing the red and gold, or do you think Brett Veach just says, nah, we're not interested in none of these guys?
I mean, obviously, you'd love to see some of those guys in the Chiefs red and gold. You'd like to see Tyreek Hill back, of course. You'd like to see Trey Hendrickson coming off the edge over there for the Chiefs. That'd be fantastic. But the reality of it is they just don't have the money to pay some of those high-profile guys, so they're probably going to get overlooked. Yeah, but one name that is kind of intriguing to me is David Njoku. We were talking about tight end. We were talking about Kyle Pitts. He's super injury prone. He's never lived up to the hype, and it would take a second-round draft pick or something like that to get him. David Njoku's not quite that high profile, but I feel like he could fit into the Chiefs offense very, very well. He gets hurt a lot too, but not to the extent of Kyle Pitts, and it wouldn't be that expensive. I don't think the Chiefs need tight end at this point. If they want to invest in one in the next year or two in the draft, cool. I don't think they have to have one right now, but I would be okay with seeing something like a David Njoku, just something to spice up the offense a little bit.
Right. I would like somebody like a Jair Alexander. I think he would do well in Spags' defense, but at the same time, you can't pay Trent McDuffie and then come in and pay a guy like this. Like, you're just not going to do it. You've got enough pieces there that I don't think that's going to be a possibility. So I'm with you. I think if you looked at any of those, it would be David Njoku. I think that he has the playmaking ability that would be fun. And yes, I probably do like him a little better than Kyle Pitts as well. Cleveland could get rid of Njoku here because he is in the final year of his contract. But he is going to turn 29 in just a month or so. They used a third-round pick on Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green. He was a guy that maybe we thought the Chiefs could look into. So if they're ready to move on from Njoku, he's got $20.8 million in dead money that they're going to have to eat. So, I mean, they've got options. They can still wait and trade him later in the year, and it's not going to hurt them too bad. But he's a guy that could potentially be traded in the right position. I just don't think the Chiefs are it. I think we're pretty much set on this roster when it comes to big-time moves. Of course, when there's going to be some surprise cuts for 53-man and things like that, last year with like Eric Scott, the corner out of Dallas, different things like that, the Chiefs may make a play on those kind of guys. But I think the high-profile guys, kind of out of the question here for the Chiefs.
Go ahead and get Trey Hendrickson in here to match up with Chris Jones and everybody else, though. I'd be pretty horned up about that.
I'm down with Trey Hendrickson. Bring him in, beat up on Joe Burrow a little bit. Why not?
All right, Chiefs Kingdom, this is where we pass it off to you. Get down in the comments and let us know what you think about Kyle Pitts, or do you think about one of these cut guys like David Njoku, or even Tyreek Hill or Trey Hendrickson. Let us know what you guys think. Also, who do you think needs to have a good week of OTAs and get started off right this offseason?
Go Chiefs.